Good morning, Justin, Equinedge, Gulfstream Park. Mandatory Monday. Pick six starts in the 9 races today. So pick six start in race. Race four? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. Race four. Man, there are some brutally tough races. I thought the last race of the card's pretty crazy. So you might find a price there. I don't know. Well, we had two 0 for 15 winners yesterday. There's an 0 for 38 to get off the card. Bernardo's Legacy. I mean, horse got an outside look, but let's go through it. We'll do this one quick. I don't think it'll take us too long. If narrow, 485. Put the 4 on top. 8 got big shot. Iron 5. Sim Solid Bim. Maybe up front on the Tapita Sprint and 5.5. If you're deep, it's 3 and 6. But you might get through with just 4, 8, 5. I wasn't really sure between the 4 and 8 on top, but I put the 4. 8 win the race sim. You can see the 3 runs an okay race at 0 for 35. Finally gets to probably an easier level. But Iron wins the race sim, ran last out on the Tapita at similar burn money, but Fitz was in the 11 post there. If you're an E user, you can see my notes down below. This horse fits. It's dropping, second time on the drop. It's just not a great group, right? I cut the 1, 2, and 7, but outside that, this is a rough group. But Iron can win. Smell the money for D'Angelo. Second time out. Reyes drops 6 points in strength of race from 35 claimer to 12.5. Horse can win. We talked about Bernardo's Legacy. 0 for 38. My gosh. Horse has been running versus tougher though. Has been competitive versus similar. So wouldn't surprise me if this horse wins. But and the 5 might be on the lead. Could get loose with the apprentice Pedro Pena. So 4, 8, 5 if narrow, 3, 6 if you're spreading. I thought Quizler might be a single, but No More War has a shot. Stealing base is kind of an interesting runner. I was 6, 1, 2, 4 with maybe the 6 being a single and or only going 2 deep. So 2 and 4 would both be prices if you're spreading. Stealing bases could get loose out here, but I think there's another speed. It probably sets it up for No More War, the 1 or the 6. Top 2 picks, both have very strong win percent. So you might get through being narrow here with just 1, 6. 2 does run a good race on the front end, I would say, but the 6 has strongest strength of race. 1 horse has top win. Gonna need some pace, and I think gets it. There is a 31-foot rail, so it could favor speed a little bit, but I think the pace probably comes back. You look at Quizler, this is where I went on top, dropping 6 points in strength of race from that starter optional claim. This is a much, much easier starter group. Comes back to 8 and has been predominantly facing tougher. Did not run back here, but second off the claim for both Chapman. Pena rides. This horse fits coming off the pace, going to have some pace to chase. And then No More War, 1, 3 in a row. This horse will have to improve, and just 1 barely last out. So that was my biggest concern when I put the 6 on top. And 6 has done nothing wrong, just been facing tougher company and beaten tougher than this. And it's a reclaim for Bo, right? He claimed back here. So this has been Quizler been a popular claim in recent efforts. But 6, 1, 2, 4, if you're narrow, just 6, 1 might get through. Race 3, I think the picks have this 1, 5, 4. It's as we talked about, there's some rough, if you just join us, there's some rough races today. So from that perspective, this is gonna be a short price. So it wouldn't surprise me if this horse wins at a short price, but I didn't see it as an absolute lock. Hippie Shake as well as Come On Poppy. They're both right there on the race. And the 1 win fairly easy, but if you don't like the horse, you cut it in the 4 or 5 wins. So that's kind of how I saw this. There's not a lot of speed in this race, right? So jockey intent. It's a rough group, like we talked about. I mean, there's some rough runners here, but they've all been running at similar. You look at GSR, the three stop, the 514 right there. So I think they're going to be in the mix. Three hasn't hit the board. I think if I remember right, this horse might need the lead. Tori Alba rides, but come on, Poppy's been racing at this level, couldn't get it done. Hippie hippie shake. You get Diego leading jockey, third off the layoff, and has run well in back-to-back efforts. And I think honestly just finds a pretty weak group. But then you look at List, Burn Money. So I mean, it's rough, man. But I think you can get through with 154. If not, anybody can win this race. So that would be my perspective on race 3. Race 4, I thought that the 7 was vulnerable here. Paris surprised mainly because this is a wide open allowance race. If you're easier, you can see my notes. I think, again, a lot can win this race. Naughty Nicks can win on the lead. There's no speed here. None. But I was 6-2-1. If you're deep spread, add the 4 and 3. I won't spend too much time on this. We'll watch the race, and I just worry a little bit. 8.5. There's other speed. Paris Surprise, I think, has potential to get kind of caught wide, have a rough trip. The 1, 5, 6, and 7, all I expect will probably show speed. And again, it's pretty paceless. The 1 has a really strong strength of race, comes in also with the top GSR in top pace figure. So does get the lead up there on the rail. 7 starts to fall back. 1 takes him a long way. Junction Road, a player. The 6, Team of Rivals, a player as well. So they're all, just shows how wide open this is. You got 4 horses within a neck, essentially, which is pretty crazy. You don't see that too often. A lot of times in turf races, though, you can get some wide open races. So I would be spread here. So narrow, probably in race 2. I don't really love this sequence. It's just some rough races, and or single in race 5. So we'll talk about that one. This where the pick 6 kicks off. Again, I'd be spread, but I'd be trying to beat the 7. You look at Naughty Nicks, right? This horse is dropping, but hasn't been on the lead in a long time. Maybe gets the lead. More or less be aggressive. It's tough. There's just no speed. Herrera for Rohan's dropping. That horse fits. Edwin rides a 3. Maybe he shows speed here. Maybe he takes back, but he's usually pretty aggressive. So there's a lot of dynamics, I would say, in this in the turf race in race 4. At first I thought Kate the Smate might be might not be a lock, but honestly, I think she's probably tough here. It again, it's a rough group. Maybe a try in this race, I would say. You could get some prices underneath with the 5 and 7. I think the 9 or 8 could run a good race, but there's no speed. They're sprinting 5. She has the strongest strength of race. She's got the strongest GSR tied with the 9. She just gets loose. For a single in the early pick 5, I probably single here. In the pick 6, maybe. We'll talk about a couple others. But early, and I think you can go 1 or 2 deep in leg 2. So I don't think you have to spend a lot today if you want to play the early pick 5, and maybe you can catch a price in race 1 or race 4. Whoops, wrong way. Well, we got 4 more. Late pick 4. I don't know. Rough group here. There's a lot of speed from Cross Haste and Kinetic Stone. I think it might come back. You're going to get a great price in Etendre. But I think both these two could duel out here. And at this level, it worries me a little bit. I think it could set up for maybe the 1 or 6. Simo, I don't know. This horse is coming from easier and just kind of struggling. You can see from a strength of race, much easier. But will be a price. But the 6 sits kind of the trip. The 2 wins, Cross Ace. But this horse fits. But you might be able to beat this horse. So 2-1-6 for me. 5 would be a deep ad. but not a strong opinion. Race 6. All right, let's talk about the last 3. So I went the 2 on top here, Greenfield Cougar. The win percents, and we'll look at the last race. They just adjusted with the scratches there, but it's wide open, man. Great Venezuela ends up being the morning line favorite. We did have a couple scratches. Sue win out front. I think there's enough speed here that it's gonna set it up for the 2, 5, or 8. One of them. I think the 6 goes with the 4. I don't think that they just get loose. I think they're gonna go fast enough sprinting 5 on the turf, and with that, I think somebody can come right off the pace. You see Coco Barrio, Perez and Perez here. They have not won in a long time as a duo, 0 for 12, but they're dangerous. You can see dropping in SOR here, ran at Keeneland, 2 back. The efforts at Gulfstream are strong. Beat a 70 group, a similar allowance group last winter in February, stocking the pace, and should get a similar trip today. Second off the way off, like absolutely fits. So for me, it was 258. Try to beat the speed. Greenfield Cougar, Fox, Miguel comes out of that handicap, ran an okay race, ran back-to-back seconds at this level on the turf, and Tapita absolutely fits, and versus this group should sit a good trip. Great Venezuelan, nice horse, burned some money recently. The question always with Great Venezuela is this horse want the turf or the Tapita? And it's one on both, but won a lot more money, you can see on the about 50,000 more on the synthetic. So that's the question with her, but she's the real deal. But I think you can get through with those 3. As I talked about in race 5, maybe a single in the 3. I probably single here though. I love Edwin Gonzalez on the lead, and you get it here with Zozan for Yanez. Third from your good buddy Ernesto Ochoa. Everybody been talking about him, but he clearly runs his best races up front, beating 52s at this level, right? A little bit different group, but there's just not a lot of speed here. And I always like when a horse gets a pretty easy lead, and you'll see that here with Zozan. And takes that lead, was up by about a length and 3/4, and takes that and extends that to over 2 lengths at the second call, which I like to see. And at the third call and in the stretch, they do come running, but I think Edwin, he does such a great job up front. I think he can get this horse loose. You'll see that the 4 does take over in the race sim really, really late, and then the 5 is right there. But I was 3 is like lone A in this race. The 4 would be second, but this horse, Brooklyn guy, doesn't have a lot of speed, has all sorts of trouble all the time, is not run versus tougher back to back. But Coy does go to Morelos. They hit at 15%. That horse fits, don't get me wrong, but for a single in the pick 6, mandatory Monday, I can't remember how much is the carryover is into today because carries over each week and then they pay it out on Monday. But I think just gets an easy lead. And again, Cake Dismay may be a single in race 5 too. The last, I would like add as many as you can. Look at the win percents in this race. Turf race to end the card, non-winners of 2 lifetime. They've all won once. The 7's 1 for 28. The 6 is 1 for 24. Glandor here, 6-1. This is where I went on top. But I would definitely be using multiple here. You have Chalky White also at 3-1 on the E-morning line. The thing about it is we watched the race sim before we close down. I'll let y'all get back to work. I think there's a lot of speed here. I think it backs up. There's a 31-foot rail, but I think they're going to be flying. I mean, they might duel up here. If the 1 can get the lead, the 1 could be brave and take this group a long way. But I think somebody probably comes off the pace here. You see here that, again, the win percents are wide open. You have the 8 horse, which is closing on the race sim. This horse absolutely could win this race. I put it on top. Again, the 2 right there. That horse definitely fits, but I would be trying to beat as a vulnerable favorite in this race. The 8 wins the race, Sim, which you like to see even over the 2. But I think you can get a price. The morning lines show how wide open this race is. You look at Gandor, comes from similar. So if we look at strength of race kind of for the whole field, has been facing a little bit tougher and running okay. Beat a 42 group in a maiden group for Sano. He doesn't win a lot, 13% at the meet. But as we go through everybody, look at the 7, similar. They've been facing each other, ran third. You look at the 6, comes off the dirt, completely unknown here for this source. Might run, gets back to the turf, but that's a tough task. You then look at the 5, just broke its main in a 38. One more Duke, broke its main 2 back in a 34. I mean, all these horses that just broke their maiden that are likely to be the heavily bet favorites in the 2, 4, and 5. I mean, I don't see much. I mean, here the 2 faced the 7 and 8, and yes, came running, was on the rail, makes a lot of sense off the pace here. But again, 1 for 13, huge Sierra, and you have some prices in the 7 and 8. So I probably land a little bit more to a price than the chalk in the last. I think it's pretty wide open, like the win percents tell us. All right, y'all. Well, y'all get back to work. I got to get back to work again. Single, maybe in the pick 6. I would say the 3 here in race 8, or the second leg, Kate Dismay in race 2. I probably lean the 3 in race 8, and I do like the 2 here as a potential. But I think the picks you probably get through here. But I like the 2 at a price. I think it was very strong GSR. The GSR play is definitely, I think, the speed come back in race 7. All right, y'all. Good luck if you're playing today. I'll shoot out a grid here shortly. 30 minutes to first post. So got it in early, and I wish you all luck. Have a good day today. Have a good week. We'll be back next week. Chat soon.